Guys, it's Karen and I've got a very quick tip for you, and it is on doggy digestion. I have no idea what I'm going to title this. I'm going to try and think of a title that would make sense and that people might be searching for. Maybe how to find out your dog's food allergies, but it's not going to work if your dog is having an upset tummy constantly. You know, it won't work if you're just giving him one food and no treats and you think that he's allergic to that food. This won't work. This is more about, let me tell you how I came about doing it. I give Watson kibble in the morning, and then in the evening I give him a different kibble. It's a long story, but basically he's still on puppy kibble. He's 13 months. So his puppy kibble in the morning, adult kibble in the evening, mixed with some wet food. And his bowels seem to be fine in the morning, but not great in the afternoon. And so we were trying to figure out, is it the puppy kibble that's affecting him? Is it the bone that we give him in the middle of the day when we're trying to settle him down? Is it the wet food in the evening? You know, which one is it? And we didn't know how long it took for food to transit through his tummy. So you can look it up, but it tells you that it's varying between dogs. It should be apparently between 3 and 8 hours. But we did this test that I'm going to show you, and actually for our Watson it's about 24 hours. So I don't know if there's anything we should do about that. I'm looking into it. I'll speak to the vet and whatnot. But I bought this. I was thinking, how can I know that? And I thought the only way really is to put something in his food that will affect the colour of his poops, basically, so I can see how long that takes to come through. So I just put a few drops of this black food dye. I looked it up, checked that it was okay for dogs, and it is food dye, as long as you're not giving them like a whole bottle. A few drops of food dye won't harm them at all. So what I did was, in his evening meal, I put a few drops of this, mixed it in. It looked pretty unappetizing because it was all black then. It was the kibble mixed in with the wet food, and gave it to him and just waited to see when he had a black poop. And that was 24 hours later. It was the following evening. But that was really useful for us because it shows that it's either the adult kibble, which I don't think it is because he's had that on its own before and been fine, but it's the wet food. And actually I think it was just because it was the start of him. You know how they take a while to get used to a new food. But it's something that I will use again in future. It's kind of difficult to use with kibble alone, or with dry snacks. If there's any kind of snacks that you're thinking, are they allergic to that? It's difficult, but not impossible. If you have something dry, this does kind of absorb into something. So you could put this on kibble and it would absorb into it, and it would still come out the other end with a colour. You'd maybe just have to leave it to absorb for a little while. You could put it in a little bit of water and let the water absorb it. Or you could just add in a tiny little tablespoon of wet food if that's something that you know your dog's okay with, because there's no point adding in wet food and then they could be allergic to that, if you see what I mean. So it might then give you skewed results even. Yeah, like I said, that's been really, really useful for me. I've done that. I now know that the wet food is the problem, and I will use this again, you know, if I see that he's got an upset tummy at any point, because we're still not 100% on what food he's getting because he's got all of these allergies. He's getting allergy tested again in January. We know that he doesn't have any specific food allergies, but he's got intolerances clearly. This, for example, chicken, he can't eat chicken. And now the great thing is I could take a piece of chicken just to be 100% sure, and I could put this on the chicken, he would eat the chicken, and then see at what point that comes out like that, and does it come out in a good form or not, you know. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Let me know if anybody uses it with success as I have. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.